So most people don't fail at lifestyle change because they lack discipline. They fail because we've taught them to focus on outcomes instead of habits. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that medicine makes. I was actually listening to a podcast recently, and it really stopped me in my tracks because it put into language something that I see every single day in practice. The conversation wasn't about motivation or willpower. It was actually about why some habits stick and others don't. So it made me realize something important. In medicine, we are obsessed with the end result, but we spend very little time helping people build habits that they can actually live with. If you stay with me to the end, I want to show you how I think about habit change in real life and why joy and consistency matter far more than white-knuckling your way through to a number. So here's the problem. Medicine loves prescriptions. 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week, we know, is what the science says. Perfect adherence, though, that's hard to reach. Clear targets are important. But when I'm actually talking to someone about lifestyle change, I don't start there. Because if I said, you just need to exercise 30 minutes 5 days a week, most people immediately feel behind before they even start. I mean, I would feel that way too. So instead, I ask a different question. Where can you add 10 minutes of movement every day? Not someday, not when life calms down, but every day in everyday life. Where would it fit into your routine? You know, there's some things that we do every day. So what do you do automatically? Because that is where habits actually live. So when I help someone build a habit, make a lifestyle change, I always start with what they're already doing and then build from there. Not what they think they should be doing. We do a lot of shoulding in medicine, but what actually already exists in their life. So for example, you wake up in the morning, you make coffee, you walk the dog, you brush your teeth, you scroll your phone. That's a great entry point. When you start there, you stack the new habit onto something that's already there. And that is what makes it obvious and simple. And then your life becomes the reminder. When you take that starting point and then you take the habit and you make it as small as possible. I'm not talking about starting with an hour workout or 30 minutes even. You don't want to make it impressive, not perfect, just something that's doable, because consistency beats intensity every single time. And that is another mistake that often happens. People think that the habit has to feel hard to count. But if it feels like punishment, it's not going to last. So I always ask, how can this feel good? Do you enjoy walking outside? Do you enjoy listening to music? Do you like being alone? Maybe calling a friend. And then, this is the part that really matters. You actually have to reward yourself for showing up. Not for hitting a number or a target, not for changing a lab, a number on the scale, but actually just practicing the habit. Because that's another place that medicine gets it wrong. We reinforce the outcomes instead of the behaviors. I've been guilty of it myself, but it's actually the behavior when it's repeated consistently that creates the outcome. And this is why falling in love with the process matters so much. Lifestyle change takes time. Real change is slow. We are not machines. We respect the laws of nature. So if you're only focused on the end result, every day feels like a test that you're either passing or failing. But when you focus on the process, you start building momentum. And momentum is what actually carries people forward. So when motivation fades, it's momentum that makes the biggest difference. This is the heart of joyful medicine. Joyful medicine isn't about ignoring science or pretending results don't matter. It's about understanding that joy is what makes people stay in the process long enough for the science to actually do the job, for nature to catch up. So joy isn't the reward at the end. Joy is the fuel along the way. And when you build habits that feel supportive, enjoyable, and realistic, habits that fit into your real life, consistency becomes natural. And when consistency becomes natural, health naturally follows. And that is joyful medicine. If this resonated, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share with somebody that could benefit.